Cam Newton, his name is resurfacing in the Patriots quarterback search. And Greg, I can't think of anything worse to happen right now. If you're a Patriots fan right now, and and all you want is new hope, okay? This is a new hope. The possibilities are endless. Blank canvas, money, draft picks, capital. Theoretically, the Patriots could do a lot of different things, some of which could be very exciting and interesting. And I can't think of one thing that would just throw a wet blanket all over that any more than bringing back Cam Newton.
Yeah, John, it's weird. I started hearing the chatter on all the sports talk radio stations this week, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, it's basically like Cam Newton's become. It's similar to some of the debates that you hear in politics, like where they just like stoke fear in people to generate interest in their shows and
Yeah.
things like that. It's like, ooh, now Cam Newton's the boogeyman. That like, ooh, they might be bringing Cam Newton back, and just to get people to react. Like people need to settle down. And this is why you subscribe to BSJ. That's why you listen to this podcast, because you know things like how last offseason, when everybody was going nuts about, well, Jarrett Stidham's the guy, and Jarrett Stidham's going to be this, and Jarrett Stidham's going to be that, and he's going to be the next guy. You know, what did I tell you from January of last year? Over a year ago, I told you that he was not going to be the starter, that there was going to be some sort of veteran competition. So, you know, welcome to coming here where you get well informed. You don't have to worry about the hysteria. You just get straight facts and what's going on. So here's where we are with Cam Newton. And this is something that I've been talking about since the end of his Patriots season, which is it's always been a possibility that Cam Newton could come back here. It all depends on what happens with the market and who they end up with the quarterback and this and that. But for anyone to suggest that Cam Newton is going to be re-signed, being the definite number one, that's what we want starter here next year, that's not going to happen. It just isn't. And here's why. And we've also sort of touched on this, but just to sort of reinforce the point. I think what happened this past season is the Patriots realized, and look, we've talked about it, that there wasn't really a plan. Belichick understood that there weren't enough chairs for the quarterbacks, and somebody was going to be left. Could have been Jameis Winston, could have been Cam Newton, could have been Andy Dalton, could have been anybody. It happened to be Cam Newton, and they figured they'd make it work. It did not work, and what I think, John, what happened was, and actually I know this happened, the Patriots realized after the Cam Newton experiment that not every quarterback can work in the system. And that's not to say Cam Newton's still not capable of playing good football. I think that he is. Do I think he could be better with a better supporting cast? Absolutely, I do. And do I think that was part of the problem last year? Yes. But at its basis, in this scheme, you need a quarterback who sees the totality of what's going on the field. You need someone who's going to win before the snap. You need somebody who's going to see something on the defense and say, this is about to be a bad play. Here, we're checking to this. And Cam Newton, outside of, he might have alerted a few plays here and there, but not even close to what we've seen. And look, I'm not going to compare him to Tom Brady. Nobody's going to be Tom Brady. But the baseline, Jimmy Garoppolo would have been a lot better. Jarrett Stidham probably would have been a lot better in terms of what he could. Even when Jarrett Stidham got in, John, we saw things like, Stidham would change things at the line. That's the baseline in this offense, and that's where it starts. The number one tenet in this offense is don't run any bad plays. When the quarterback is incapable of doing that for whatever reason, that's strike number one. Strike number two is understanding after the snap what's going to happen. What is the defense going to do? What is that going to mean in reaction time? Like if I see the free safety all of a sudden rotate from too deep to single high safety, I should know like that who's going to be open.
But Greg, let me ask you real quick, because everything you're saying makes perfect sense. But did the Patriots need a year of Cam Newton to know that he wasn't that guy? Did you think he was that guy walking through the door? Is there anybody? Are there any smart personnel people out there who thought, oh, Cam might be able to adapt to this Patriots style offense? It didn't seem like a sensible fit. Anyway, this is a guy who's always had accuracy problems, who plays a totally different style of ball. I mean, I don't know why you would have brought him in the first place if your idea was to run a Patriot style offense.
I
The
think,
fear is now,
first
would
of
they
all,
try to do it again?
yeah, well, yeah. The paramount thing is he was just the last guy. He was the guy,
Right.
and plus he gives Belichick a little cachet with players around the league, blah blah blah.
Sure.
But in terms of how did the Patriots not know he couldn't do that? Look, Cam Newton played his best football under Norv Turner and Scott Turner with the Panthers. That's a drop back system. It's not as evolved as the Patriots, but still, you saw there was some potential. They talked to people. They thought it was going to happen. Cam really does study a lot. He puts in the work. That wasn't going to be an issue, but there were a whole bunch of forces that combined to where he just couldn't operate it well enough. And I think the point is, the Patriots learned last season. They learned a valuable lesson. Like, we cannot go through that again. We cannot have a quarterback who can't run our system.
Because I think that's the number one thing is, okay, they made the mistake last year. I guess what's going to take Patriots fans to the ledge here is the notion that, well, with this talk of, well, with a full off season and a chance to have the playbook under the blah, 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 it could work. And I think, again, the fear is they might talk themselves into it. You don't think that's going to happen based on what people, not only because you're explaining all of the football reasons why it doesn't make sense, it shouldn't make sense, and they won't do it. But is there a chance somebody the one person in that building whose opinion really matters says, I can make it work? Or I want to button this up and have it in the can safely because I know what it is, versus roll the dice and start all over again with somebody new who I don't necessarily know is going to be a tremendous upgrade while I try to figure out this thing long term. Is he a second year Band-Aid, I think is the worry.
I think he could be a second year part of what's going on, but not he wouldn't be the ideal, all right, here's what we're doing, maybe with some sort of drafted quarterback or some sort of competitive competition. I could see him back here. He is not going to be given what he was last year, which was basically, carte blanche. There wasn't anything Cam Newton could do worse enough to not start a game last year. Like I don't think that's going to happen. But I do think that, if you ask me, do I think Cam Newton could be better? And I'm not saying good, but could he be better? Second year, better weapons in this system. And yes, but at the end of the day, and look, I'm not going to rule out the Belichick. Look, we've talked about it many times. It's Belichick. It doesn't matter what everybody else is saying in the building. It only matters what Bill says.
People out.
Right. But no, and I think that Bill will realize, and I think he'll hear from certain people in that building that, like, Bill, look, you can bring Cam back here, but we all know when it comes to nut cutting time and 2 minutes left or what have you, or we got to come back from 2-score deficit, he can't get it done. We can't play football that way. So what are we doing?
Right. So if you did let's say you do get Cam plus whatever, and the whatever in this scenario, Greg, would seem to mean rookie quarterback, because it doesn't make
6
sense.
to 8 games or something. Yeah.
Right. But now it's would Bill bench Cam? We saw him, as you said last year. I don't know what worse you could have done for a stretch of games where it was obvious to everybody that Cam wasn't the guy, and still it wasn't. It was, well, we're going to ride or die here because he gives us the bet. We kept hearing best chance to win. Yeah, theoretically, next year you could be in the same exact position, and you could have Mac Jones sitting there, and you could think, well, he's not ready. He's only a rookie, and Cam at this point gives us the best chance to win. So you have that. Did have him in here. Would Bill bench? Is that have to recruit people to come here? If you go in and say, I got Cam again, and then a rookie who we may or may not play, how is that going to convince people? You think?
I would say it's better than Jarrett Stidham, that's for sure.
Certainly,
and what people need to keep in mind that Cam playing and starting, and this is something else I reported back then. I came to learn was more about how the other players viewed Stidham more than anything else. There was not much faith in the building, and you could, excuse me, you could even see that when he got into the games and sort of the way he conducted the huddle, for whatever reason. And I don't know if it was the training camp injury or the offseason thing or what have you, or just the way he conducts himself. there's not a lot of belief in that building, and there was the feeling within the team that if they turned the keys over to Stidham, that it would become a complete debacle down the stretch, and that wouldn't be good for anybody.
Except their draft position.
Correct.
So, again, last season's last season. I think, again, the concern here is this year with
Just
Cam.
calm down, people.
Yeah. So, Greg, you're confident he's either not coming back, or if he does, it would be in a very reduced role. I guess that's what
Correct.
people ultimately want to hear. Okay.
Yeah.